What's going on, guys? It's your boy Minty here. And before we get into today's story, I just want to talk about last story time video and just where I've been recently. I obviously, if you guys haven't seen the latest video besides this one, I highly encourage you all to please go back and watch it so you can understand the context before we get into the story time, or just the context of what I'm talking about right now. So, first and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you for turning into my YouTube videos and taking time out of your day to watch them, even if you don't watch fully through it. Obviously, I appreciate you either way because a view is a view, and you guys mean the world to me, and I just want you guys to know that. I think that's something I've said all the time in every beginning video for the most part, but I don't care. I think gratitude goes a long way, and I think you guys deserve everything in the world when I talk about you guys because you are people that are watching my videos and considered to be my fan base. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, anywho, enough with the sentimental stuff. Let me get into today's story. So, today's story takes place when I was roughly around 19, 18, and this was my second job, right, for this story. I was at my second job, and I'm going to give you some context on that too and what was going on during that time. But for side notes now, for remembering for you guys, just remember second job 1918, right? So obviously I got to just give you guys kind of a warning here. Obviously don't do what I talk about in this story. I don't condone this. Even if you are of age, you should never do what I'm going to tell you in the story. But I figure this would be a fun story to tell you guys, just me being a complete idiot. Seems like you guys get to enjoy out of those stories, so that's going to be today. So yeah, around 18 or 19, I got this second job, and it was at a bakery. And the only reason I got this job, for context, was a little bit of, not nepotism, but I knew the manager at the bakery, which was at this grocery store. That was the job, right? And I knew the manager's mom because his mom knew my aunt. So that's kind of how I got the in to apply for it and stuff. And so I go to this job and I apply and I meet the manager. And the manager at the time when I applied, his name was we'll call him Rob. His name was Rob. And Rob was an interesting guy. He seemed really laid back. He almost reminded me of the guy from Surf's Up, the chicken from Surf's Up. That's how Rob's personality was. Great guy, but you could definitely tell he was very relaxed, if you get what I'm trying to say. So I go through the interview process, and he gives me a call a couple days later and tells me I'm hired, which was great news because at the time I quit my first job, which hopefully you guys remember from some of my older story times, was at another grocery store. And I quit that job because I was starting community college. And for context, I went to school and I graduated with a graphic design degree, an associate's degree. So yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons I, quit that first job. But anywho, so yeah, when he called me saying I was hired, I was ecstatic because I didn't have a job for a couple months after quitting my first job, and it was definitely a dumb decision to quit your job without having a backup job, at least lined up, and approved that you're gonna work there. Don't do that. If you're gonna quit a job and you need money, make sure you have another job. Don't just quit and not have any other job because that just can screw your situation up money wise super quickly. But yeah. So I got hired. He called me. I remember the day I was in Taco Bell when he called me, which funny enough I was in the drive-thru, so I was super ecstatic because my money that I saved up was running low because those couple months I didn't have a job. So, and I remember going in and meeting some people. Obviously he introduced me to some people, which I'm not going to say their names nor give them fake names. They're not really super relevant to this story time. Maybe in the future I will tell you guys another story time with my second job at this bakery, but for now they're not really relevant in this story time, so I'm not going to give them any fake names because we don't need to talk about them. But I meet some people, they train me. I end up becoming friends with some of the people that trained me, and overall it was a great first day, right? And after this day, I remember, right? I remember, what was I gonna say? Sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. I remember after this day, I met this one person, and we'll call him Tyler, I guess. Or no, I've been using Tyler too much. We'll we'll call him Frankie. And Frankie was a little younger than me. He was around 17, turning 18, so he was still in high school. He was a junior because he stayed back a year, so he was supposed to be a senior, but he was a junior. And he moved from a different state the state that uh, to the state that I live in, right? So he was a new kid, and he also needed a new job. So that's kind of how I met him, through the job, not through school, obviously, because college, high school, a little bit of a different thing. Anywho, um, yeah. So I met him at this job, and he's going to become an important figure later on in this story. So yeah, I met Frankie as well, and me and Frankie started to get closer as as we were working and just getting to know each other and picking up hobbies and stuff. We even added each other on Snapchat, and Xbox as well because why not, right? And I'm not gonna condone you guys to not talk to your coworkers and make friends with coworkers. I will tell you this though: definitely be very careful what you do with your coworkers because some of them will pretend to be your friends, and I'm not saying Frankie was, but you just never know someone's intentions. So just be very careful when you're working because you don't want to have a toxic work environment by making a friend and said friend turns out to be not what you thought. So just be very careful with coworkers. Anyhow, back to the story. So yeah, me and him got closer. We started talking every couple of days when we didn't work together. We'd play Call of Duty together and stuff. We also would always ask each other "Oh, are you closing tonight?" And if we were closing tonight, we knew it was gonna be fun. We'd always just kind of mess around and stuff like that. And the bakery job isn't too hard. You normally just serve people at a counter. It's almost like a deli because we had stuff in a display case that we would grab out for them. But then there would be some times where you'd have to kind of lock in and write on cakes and stuff, which was surprisingly weird to learn. And I now have this um, ridiculous skill, I guess you could say, or unnecessary skill that I can write on birthday cakes. So yeah, if I ever meet you guys in real life or I meet anyone that follows me, I can write on a birthday cake for you guys if that ever happened or you guys ever surprise me with a cake. But that's besides the point. I'm getting a little off topic here. So yeah, no, there were some times in the night where we couldn't mess around, but for the most part, when me and him would close, me and Frankie, it was a chill night. I knew that it was gonna be an easy night, that it wasn't gonna be an issue, or I wouldn't have to worry about him pulling his weight, because I had some coworkers there that just didn't really work, if that makes sense. They did, but they just, I don't know how to explain it. You ever have those coworkers that just don't know how to work, or they put in the very bare minimum, or not even bare minimum, they just don't do their job sometimes? That was my issue with some of my other coworkers. It's just they didn't really do their job, or when they did do their job, it was not half-assed, but they just didn't take it serious. You know what I mean? They just didn't care. They didn't really focus on the fact that they're working and that they could lose their job. But besides the point. So yeah, when me and Frankie would close, I just knew it was always going to be an easy night. It wasn't going to be a difficult night. And I remember there was a couple nights where he would always tell me "Oh, we should go hang out and do stuff," and we did. We used to get stuff after work. We'd go out to eat. There was this restaurant called Three Amigos nearby, and we'd always get that. And that kind of doxes a little bit of where the place was in Connecticut. But yeah, I used to eat there with him, and he was pretty chill. And we used to go there after work because it was right next to the old store where we used to work at. And yeah, so it was a really enjoyable time, eating and hanging out after work. We used to, those coworkers that you have that you can just vibe with. That pretty much was Frankie. We would talk after work about life. We were really close. And I was actually thinking that this is maybe a friend that will last past me getting a new job. And it did, kind of, but again, that's a story for a different day. Hopefully you guys will show the same love and support here, and maybe I'll tell that story for you guys. I don't know yet, I've been thinking about it. Anywho, besides the point. So yeah, we would do stuff like that after work, and we were really close. And I remember me and him would always talk about the drama, and me and him had the same opinion. We always hated the drama, and we didn't like the work drama. And you guys might be saying to yourselves, well, duh, you're working in a bakery, there's going to be drama. Obviously, there's drama in any job, but when you're working in a bakery, there's a lot of petty drama, so it just was really annoying. Supermarket drama was really annoying, and I'm kind of glad I'm out of that retail space. I don't recommend you guys do it, but I mean, if you want to experience a part-time job and you need a job, you could always trust a retail place to hopefully hire you. I know the job market's a little crazy, but you know. Anywho, back to the story. So yeah, there was always drama that me and him would talk about that we hated, and it's kind of ironic because we hated it, but we were still talking about it. So yeah, very ironic. But I remember one time we were talking about it, and we were just bored, right? Like this was a night we were bored, and there's a lot of people there. So then me and him get this idea, and this is such a dumb idea, but I'm gonna tell it anyways because that's kind of what this whole story is about. Me and him decide that we're gonna go into one of the walk-in freezers, and if you don't know anything about like bakeries and like certain cakes contain alcohol. Like they put brandy in it, or they'll put certain types of alcohol in it. And I do not condone alcohol at all. I don't condone that you drink it, especially if you're not of age. I don't condone it, right? Obviously, like I said before in the beginning of this video, don't do what I did here. This is purely for entertainment only, and I just want that to be known for all of you watching, that this is purely for entertainment and for you guys to learn from my stupid mistakes and hopefully have a good laugh. But yeah, so me and him get this bright idea to go into this walk-in freezer. So we go in there, and I forgot who was in there when we went in there. One of these other coworkers, we'll call him Blake. I think Blake will be a good name. So Blake was in there, and he turned away from us like he had something. So then me and Frankie are kind of curious on what does this dude have, right? Because why would you just turn away on someone walking in? Like, what are you doing in a walk-in freezer that you turn away, right? So I remember Frankie starting to be like, "Oh, what you doing there, Blake?" And Blake and Frankie were close, and I was close with Blake too. But me and Blake didn't talk too much outside of work, versus Frankie and Blake talked a lot outside of work. So I wasn't surprised that they were messing with each other, but I was genuinely curious. I'm like, why did you turn away from, us? And he eventually fesses up to the fact that he was drinking in there, like drinking some of the brandy. So then Frankie's like, oh, let me get some then. And at first I was like, I was trying to be the responsible, and I was like, oh, I don't think we should do that, this and that. And of course, me being 19, it didn't take long for me to be persuaded by both Blake and Frankie to join them. So we ended up going back and forth in the walk-in to get sips. And we're so dumb that we didn't realize that one of the managers, or cake decorators, and we won't give her a fake name, we'll just say cake decorator. One of the cake decorators notices us going in and out. And we're just going back and out in there and, just getting sips. And me and Blake weren't showing any, like, signs or anything about that, like look-wise that we were. But Frankie, on the other hand, I'm guessing Frankie just looked a certain way to the cake decorator, or to her. And she eventually, right, pulls me aside and pulls Blake aside separately, but pulled me aside and was like, I know what you and Frankie are doing, and you should stop. I don't want to see you get in trouble. And she was really nice about it. At first, I thought, oh, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to face legal trouble, because at the time, I wasn't old enough. I was 19. So again, don't be like me. Please, for the love of God, if you take anything away from the story, do not do what I do in this story. Take it as pure entertainment and laugh at my idiocy, or being an idiot, than anything. So anywho, yeah, so she eventually caught us, and she was like, oh, I'm going to just encourage you guys to stop. I don't want you doing this. Which was very kind of her, because that could have gone completely south. So yeah, she catches us, and she basically just tells us to knock it off. And at first I was like, there's no way, right? Like, there's no way I'm getting off scot-free. Like, I couldn't believe it, because I thought, oh my God, she just caught me and Frankie. There's no way. Like, we're for sure in trouble. But no, she let us off. She kind of just gave us like a warning and like a strict talking to. And at first I didn't understand why, but later on, like at this job before I left, I found out that she was giving Blake and some other coworkers, she was helping them get something to smoke, we'll say. And I didn't realize that at the time. So when I found that, I was like, oh my God, no wonder she let us off, because she's doing, if not worse things at work, right? So it really blew my mind, because at first I was like, oh, maybe she's just really nice and let us off. But no, she also was doing stupid things. So again, just don't do stuff stupid. And if you are, don't do it at your job. Like, you don't want to lose your job over something stupid, because then that might follow you around for a while. Especially if people ask for references and you have to put them, or you're like, oh, I don't have any. Like, it can follow you around and it can get you in serious legal trouble. So please do not do what I did in this story. This is purely, again, like I said, for entertainment. But yeah, no, she was giving people that at work, and I was like, oh my god, like it blew my mind, because this was like the first kind of like, not crappy adult, but like reckless adult, if that makes sense. Because I always remember growing up, my parents telling me like, oh, you're gonna see things, and I never like grasped that. But seeing that, I was like, oh my god, like it really threw me off guard, because I just wasn't expecting it. So yeah, guys, moral of the story here: don't drink at your job. Don't do anything illegal at your job. Just do your job when you're there. Don't do anything stupid. Even if you hate your job, then you could just quit or put your 2 weeks. Don't jeopardize getting in trouble with the law or getting fired from a place, because it will follow you wherever you go. And it's not fun. No one likes to lose their job, especially if they get fired. So don't put yourself in a situation like that. Don't do what I did in this story, because it's just not smart. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I just, I want to look out for you guys as well. So yeah, no, that was basically the story time for you guys, is, me just being a complete idiot, because, I thought I was cool and hanging out, when I realized that I'm committing like an illegal act, as well as just being stupid while working. Multiple illegal acts, actually. So please, again, do not do what I did in this story time. Do not drink at your job. It's just not smart. It's just not smart at all. And the last thing you want is something like that hanging over your head. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. I hope this was something that, you know, brightened up your day or night whenever you're watching this. I hope this was something that you guys got a good laugh out of. And hopefully later in this week, maybe by the end of this week, I'll have 1 or 2 more videos for you guys. But yeah, in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. This was your boy Minty. Peace.